Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And Ron, we got episode 208 today. What do you got?
It's the Idaho Potato Bowl. It's the 208 is the area code for the entire state of Idaho, not including their cell phone area code, which is, we're doing episodes in the 900s. You and I have been doing this for a long time. But yeah, I mean, so two episodes in a row where we honor states that grow potatoes. Maine, which was last time, and Idaho today. So hello, Boise.
Yes, all right. So we got some potatoes. Potatoes are so good, especially the Redskins. I like the Redskins potatoes.
See, you know, I don't know. If you gave me a choice between fries, hash browns, or home fries.
Oh boy, that's a tough choice. They're all good. I mean, I'm a hamburger and French fry guy. I have been my whole life, but when I go to breakfast, I really do like my breakfast potatoes that are cooked. They have to be cooked. They can't be soft or whatever. They gotta be cooked. But if they're cooked just right, they are so good. They really are.
I am team hash brown tater tot. I mean, I certainly have enjoyed my fair share of fries and will continue to do so. But if you said which is your favorite, I would say the hash browns.
Yeah, they're all good. They really are.
Reason number 17,537 why I became a diabetic at 30.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I know. I'm supposed to lay off that myself. She made a redskin potato last night with some of the chickens. Damn it, I'm gonna have it. I'm not supposed to, but damn it, I'm gonna have it. You know. So
that's what's for.
Every now and then you gotta break down and have something fun. But anyway, hey, in episode 208, we're gonna be talking about the rise of storytelling games, or the rise of express games that tell a story. And Ron will explain that when we get into that there. But that's what we're going to be talking about today. Ways to get a hold of us. Digitaltodice.com is the website. Digitaltodice.com. 978-751-DICE is the text line. You can send us a text. We may or may not read on the show. Digitaltodice@yahoo.com is the email. Facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. If you'd like some cool gear, head over to cafepress.com/digitaltodice. I think they actually have Christmas ornaments too. It might be a little late to get now, but they are there if you'd like to put one on your tree. And if you'd like to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/digitaltodice. All righty, so before we get into the topic, we probably should get into what we're playing.
Yes.
All righty. Let me see. Well, I'll cue the music and then I'll kick off.
You do that. I gotta say, on my end, when you play the music, did you ever have like a boombox where the speaker was busted?
Yeah.
That, to me, that's what that sounds like. I know on the podcast itself, it sounds normal, but
I think if you had headphones on, you would probably hear everything a lot clearer. Some reason, just when you're trying to play through speakers, your volume's probably kind of low, and it might be clipping in and out or something like that.
Maybe because I hear you just fine.
Yeah,
but
I don't know why. There's something to do when on this mixer here. When I try to play anything external aside from the microphone, it does have an issue sometimes. But well, as long as it goes through and sounds good on the
as long as you guys can hear it, that's what matters.
The listener end, that's all that matters. All right,
to me, it's the beat up AM radio.
Yeah. So what have I been playing? Well, I decided that I'm going to play some of the things that I got on Black Friday. So I pulled out the Ultra Quick Basketball from Downey, and I played. I think I played, if you can believe it, the first ABA finals between
New Orleans and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Peppers and the New Orleans Buccaneers. I don't know anybody in any of the teams, but I thought they were cool, and so I set it all up for the 7-game series, and I think New Orleans won it in 6 games, so it was a fun time, and I played the quarter-by-quarter method, so that was kind of fun, rolling dice for each quarter and playing it out that way. There's 2 ways to play Ultra Quick Basketball, and I think the quarter-by-quarter is the most fun way to play. So
Pittsburgh played at the Igloo.
Did they? Okay, where the Penguins played? Okay.
Of course, they would never do this with hockey, or I'm surprised they didn't try to do that with hockey. But that arena was designed to open.
It does open, yeah.
And I don't think the Penguins ever did that, or if they even did it for a concert. But that would have been cool to at least do it for basketball, to have an open air.
Yeah. Well, I heard it was expensive to open. I don't know why, but
it was.
There was a movie, I think it was called Face Off, with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it had the Penguins and the Blackhawks playing in the finals. and he was trying to save the vice president at the time, and so they had the roof open for the game, and like the helicopter come down through the roof, and it was an action movie, but check it out. I think it was called Face Off or something. I forget. Look for Jean-Claude Van Damme hockey movie. No, it wasn't Face Off. It wasn't Face Off because that was
Travolta, Nicolas Cage did Face Off.
Yeah,
but it had nothing to do with hockey.
Yeah, and I forget what the name of this movie was. I'll think of it in a minute. But go check it out. It was just kind of neat. It took place and it was a hockey game. He actually dressed up as a goalie and played goalie. Oh, come on, but it's a movie. It was a fun time.
That's kind of like Sly Stallone playing with Michael Caine and Pele in the soccer movie, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was Victory. Yeah. So.
He's Googling that as we speak.
Yeah, so, I have to now. So, but
New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh never had an NBA
sudden
team. Sudden death. Okay.
Just so we can get that squared away. Sudden death is what it was called. So they were playing, and he got the game into sudden death overtime because that allowed him more time to go save the vice president who was in the luxury box. Is kind of how that movie went. But it was a fun little movie there. But anyway, so I played some ultra quick basketball, some ABA because I like those crazy teams. I really do. I played some shootout hockey. I'm in the mood to play some old Bruins season, so I started to play the 69-70 season with shootout, and they won the first game against the Rangers, and then they played the Oakland Seals, and the Oakland Seals beat the Bruins in Boston, and they beat them pretty good because Boston just took penalty after penalty after penalty, and the Seals got all these power play goals and won it. So I played a couple of games with shootout, and that was really kind of fun. I'm continuing to chip away at making my hockey blast teams on my new setup there, so I'm kind of replacing some of the old teams with a newer version. It just takes a while to do, but it's fun to do because when they're done, it's awesome. They're really so awesome.
And you do such a good job with them too. They look fantastic.
Yeah, it's just going in. You got to type them all in and then proofread them the whole bit. And I've been enjoying doing that. I haven't done that in a few days, but that was fun. I played some season ticket baseball. Part of my 79 season, I played. I think I played Red Sox in Texas, and I also played Baltimore and Detroit or something like that. But it was a fun time. Season ticket's a fun game. It really is. I like how the cards look. I like how the game plays. It's just fun. It really was. So I was playing a couple of games of season ticket for my 79 season. So I need to wrap that up. But I don't want it to end because it's such a fun season. And I've played so many different games. I've probably played 5 or 6 different baseball games for that season. Kind of a calico, I think you call it, for that season. So that's been kind of fun. So I played some baseball, played some hockey, played some basketball. And I don't think I played any football or anything else right now, but that's kind of what I played. I had a lot of fun playing that. I think I probably played a game of payoff pitch in there somewhere as well.
We both tried out the fast inning baseball too.
Oh yes, and I can't forget that, the fast inning baseball by Al Wilson. I was playing some of that as well, and that's a super fun game, super easy to play. You get and we'll talk more about that when we get into our storytelling games. Is our topic today. But so definitely some fascinating baseball. And I'm looking over here at my table. I have my new card shuffler jacket.
Card shuffler?
Yeah, so I was using it to shuffle the cards for shootout hockey. The fast action cards, yeah. And what's the other game that I have the fast? Payoff pitch. I haven't tried it yet with the payoff pitch cards. I don't know if they're going to fit in there.
Are those playing card sized fast action cards?
I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. But the shootout hockey cards are playing card size, and they shuffle.
Right, I remember really that.
Nice. Yeah, it was like this. I think it was a $10 card shuffler that takes batteries off of Amazon, but it does a good job. It's like I say, because I'll play a period, and I'll put them in, and I'll shuffle them, and then I'm good to go for the next period. But I haven't tried the payoff pitch fast action cards. That's the one I want to do as well. So all kinds of fun things I've been playing here as we are in the holiday season.
Nice. Let's see. For Black Friday, I bought a bunch of stuff, as you know. And one of the things I grabbed was took advantage of the Action PC Winter Sports Sale. Basketball, I felt was pretty much the same. You got to be in the mood for basketball, and I just genuinely in love with Strat basketball. But the hockey game I hadn't really played in a couple of years. I bought last year's version. I think I did it for when Bobby Hull died. I think we showed it off that way because it streams, their game streamed very well. And so I figured, what the heck? I'll grab it. I'll see if I like it a little better or what's changed. Well, there's two things for me that's really changed. First of all, the animation is extremely smooth.
Okay.
Second, the player cards really do work. And third, there's a setting in there now that you, as the coach, can make all the decisions when your teams are on offense. And so one of the things that personal things I felt playing action PC hockey was that you were just it would kind of wake you up when it was your turn to do something. And now you make all the decisions about, what are you going to do to get out of your zone, what to do at center ice, and what to do when you have a shooting chance. And so I played quite a few games from the 54-55 season. Don't ask. I really don't know what got into me for that. But playing 50s hockey with 3 offensive lines and a couple spares and 4.5 defenders is a trip and a half.
Yeah.
Because you don't have anybody else. And so I did about 10, 12 games of Montreal and other teams. And Boom Boom Geoffrion, Maurice Richard, who just beats the crap out of everybody and scores at will. Jean Beliveau. It's weird to see Jean Beliveau getting a scrap with anybody because he is considered the ultimate gentleman in hockey. Gordie Howe, when I played the Wings, did not have the Gordie Howe hat trick. He would usually fall short in one of the 3. And then I said, let me start something semi-serious here because 54-55, there are 6 teams, and 10 games in the season, I knew who 3 of the 4 playoff teams were going to be. So I went with 78-79 because it's the last of those 4 Canadian championship teams. And it's right on when the Islanders, which again, 8-9 years old, grew up in a non-hockey area, but we knew who Mike Bossy was, despite the fact that we never saw him play. It wasn't until I was a late teenager did the words Hockey Night in Canada ever mean anything to me, because in Southern Vermont, no 38 for the Bruins and no Hockey Night in Canada, and no really USA. And again, so it's the Islanders should have done better. That was the last year before they started their run, and it's Dryden's last year for Montreal, and so it's the last of that. So I'm playing out their games, Montreal's and the Islanders, and having a lot of fun. It's Mike Bossy's rookie year, and I will say that I think for a stretch of time between 77 and let's say 81, that you could make a case that Trottier was the best player in the NHL. Mm-hmm. Until Gretzky obviously became, the first 200-point player and all that, because Trotz could score, he could pass, and he could defend. I mean, there was lots of players like Marcel Dion and Guy Lafleur who were great on offense. You don't want them killing penalties, though.
Yeah.
Sorry, as I'm wearing a Canadiens jersey right now. So I've been playing a lot of that. Really, really enjoying it. Trying to get Gardner to do it when he gets back into a hockey mood. I think he really will enjoy that.
I picked it up. I just haven't played a lot of it yet.
Yep. I had a Patreon event for the 72 American League Championship Series between Oakland and Detroit. Chris Waterfield, huge Tiger fan, wanted me to do it. Okay. We're between seasons right now anyway. Why not? Best of 5. Oakland wins the first 2 in Oakland. 7-0 both games. Now, there's no true home field advantage. They rotated by division. So Oakland had the better record, but Detroit had home field advantage. Games 3, 4, and 5 are going to be in Detroit. Best of 5 series, which Detroit proceeded to win the next 3 games. Al Kaline, one of a dear friend of mine's biggest childhood hero, big home run of the 8th of Game 5 to seal it. And we had so much fun with that, the group that watches my stuff on Twitch Live and that I decided to do the World Series, which was obviously the Tigers, and the big red machine, Cincinnati. Now, Cincinnati kind of underrated in that era. The Orioles beat them for the World Series in 70. The A's beat them in 72. The Mets beat them in 73. And then they won in 75 and 76. So as we said, if you want, I'll play out the 72 World Series. Okay, that's great. So game 1 was the last game we played in Action PC Baseball 23. And game 2 was the first game we played using Action PC 24. Game 1 was a Dave Gardner special.
Oh, boy.
Not only that, but we went into the top of the 15th inning scoreless.
Top of the 15th scoreless. Yeah, that's my game. Yeah.
And so the Tigers got 3 in the top of the 15th, held the Reds off the board. So last game in the 23 version, 3-0 in 15 innings. Played game 2 yesterday at lunch. The Tigers won. I forgot the score. I understand why we put a DH in the American League after playing some of these games, because there's no offense. It was Gary Nolan pitching in game 1 for the Reds, and Jack Billingham pitching for the Reds in game 2. And their offense has not given them a single run. They went 9 innings in their respective games. Nolan didn't finish game 1, obviously. But imagine that. They both pitched 9-inning shutouts. And not only did they not get a win, in fact, Billingham took the loss, the big red machine hasn't scored a run. Pete Rose had a triple in game 2. That was the only extra base hit. So we'll go back to Detroit for games 3, 4, maybe 5 next week. But yeah, isn't that crazy? So we played a little bit of Action PC Baseball 24. The other thing I picked up was, I know you're not a boxing fan, but I picked up Title Bout 2.
Okay.
Now, Jim Trunzo, there's 3 really good boxing games out there. There's Title Bout 2. There's Glory Days with Anthony, which we talked about when we did the Patreon event, and we need to have Anthony on. And then there's Gary Brown's Legends of Boxing. And they're all very good games. And it's Jim Trunzo's game is pretty much 8 or 9 second segment, almost a punch-by-punch game.
Okay.
And I'll be featuring it on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas, December 26th. We'll be doing a boxing special because, that's what Boxing Day means to me. It means it's time to fight. I did for my channel, as part of the demo, they have some fictional fighters and a couple real world fighters. And the fighters I showed was Apollo Creed and Rocky Balboa. I don't know if you saw any of that or not. I hadn't quite figured out the game, but that's what you get with the demo. And so from the Spectrum in Philadelphia, we did the fight for Rocky. And I don't know what the fight went in real life, but that fight was over in the second round and it went 3. Rocky just crushed him, absolutely crushed him. So loving that as well. So if you are a fan of boxing games, Title Bout 2 for the computer is a Bill Salm game. And I'm not sure if it does any AI, although you can do a quick fight in quick rounds. Really enjoying that. Another one in the arsenal of you got too many games anyway. But yeah, again, tremendous release and very faithful to the board game. So if you like computer games that are faithful to the card and dice versions, oh yeah, all that. So I think that's pretty much all the sports games that I've been playing. And again, loving everything that I've been doing. And again, you play one and you look and go, gosh, I think I might want to do that in Strat Hoops, or gosh, I want to do this and that. But that's what I've been playing the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it sounds like we've both been kind of busy, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
So, alrighty. So shall we move on to the topic of the day?
Absolutely.
Alrighty, so this was kind of your idea. We want to talk about the rise of storytelling games, or the rise of the express game. So why don't you kind of expand on that a little
play
bit?
Games. We're trying to think of whether or not we would be able to get another show in before the top end of the year. And I really think that if there was an overwhelming overriding thing for what was new for games in 2023. Now, the Express games are not new, but games like Stone Cold Hockey and Dice United 2 and for the PC and Al Wilson's games, especially Fascinating Baseball, are storytelling games that don't bog you down into a ton of statistics. They give you the full story from start to finish, but more in a highlight form way that lets you enjoy a sport potentially that you're not all that interested in and really don't necessarily know how to properly play the sport. So let's say if you are not necessarily our friend Philip Reynolds, not necessarily the world's biggest hockey fan, but he attached himself to the fictional teams that came with Stone Cold Hockey, and I think he's probably now a hockey fan based on what he was able to do in Stone Cold Hockey. You know, once you figure out how that works and how the roles go, you become more attached to the sport. And so I think for me, that was, maybe the biggest positive development in the community this year was the rise of these games that can take a casual baseball fan like you, put it into a package that takes 10 or 15 minutes to play, no wasted movements because for me, that was the thing with Stone Cold Hockey is that no dice rolls are wasted. It is all figure out resolve it and move on. And I think that, for me was the overriding best positive thing to come out of this year.
Yeah, I think, when you talk about, the storytelling or the Express games, I think that's a whole new target audience there. Because, I know people like Marco, we had Marco Scolo on the show and on the channel a few times. He's loving the Express games, like the second season Express. He's like, I can finally play a full season of football because it's not going to take me 2.5 hours to play a game, and he's developed ways to get stats out of the Express game. So, and I'm the same way with the Hockey Blast Express. I was watching the videos on that. I'm like, I don't know about it. So I picked it up. And then as soon as I played it, it's like, oh, yeah, as soon as I played it, this made a lot of sense. And I'm able to play games quicker. And, and sometimes that's all you have time for. If I would have set up a full game of Hockey Blast, it takes, 10, 15 minutes to set that up and get it ready to go. When you set up the Express, it's closer to 4 to 5 minutes, or less to set that up. And you can just bang out a game or bang out a series or whatever it is. And sometimes, I'll come downstairs and I'll want to play something. But at the same time, maybe I'm tired, maybe I have a headache, but it's like, I don't feel like watching TV or there's nothing on. So I do want to play something. I do want to entertain myself, but I'm not in the mood for a monster game. And so these Express games or the quicker play games, and I don't mean just the roll you get a final score type of games like you can from Downey or the Mike Sealock games. Or the
Shivini games, again. They're quick games and all that. But
nothing wrong with them, but when you play the Express games, we'll call them, or the highlight games, you do get some highlights. You do get, some names. You do see some ebb and flow to the game. And I guess you get what you paid for with time, and I think I've talked about that in the past. So, if you got 15 minutes and that's what you want to put in, that's what you'll get out of it. If you have an hour and 15 minutes or 2 hours and 15 minutes, you'll get so much more out of a game because you have the time. But sometimes I'll come downstairs and it's like, I get 10, 15, 20 minutes. What am I going to play? Shootout was always my go-to game because that was the one that I could play really quick. Now, I have a whole variety of games which have come out in the last year or two, which I can add to that arsenal of quicker play games. So I can, and when you play these games, you get enough of a bite to make it worth the time. It really does. It's not Thanksgiving dinner. It's not a home-cooked meal, but you do get enough of it. It's kind of like reheating leftovers. You throw it in the microwave. It's not as good as it was when it was first cooked, but you still get enough out of it to
It's picking up the quick meal from the deli at the grocery store. It's not the lean cuisine or the over-frozen piece of stuff that's in the freezer section. It's someone actually put this together, and you're going to go home and reheat it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's how I refer to those.
Yeah, but I find that these games, they tell a story, you get some details, and you can do it fairly quick. And there's times I really, really enjoy that. There's times that I just want to bang out a game of something real quick. I want to get my final score, but I also want to feel like I've played a full game. I want to see who got the goals. I want to see who scored the, whatever. And you want to feel like you're getting more than just a final score without having to put in the full effort of a full play game. And that's what these games do so well. The Fast Inning Baseball that just come out by Al Wilson, that's one where every now and then.
Let me stop you right here, because you and I both looked at that. And both had different reactions to it. And my first reaction to it was, hey, I think I'm going to like this. And I went, first thing when I saw Al Wilson play whatever it was that he was showing it off, I was like, Gardner's going to love this. It is everything about a baseball game without playing the game. And then you told me you were kind of wishy-washy about the whole thing. And so go explain it. But I just knew the second that you saw it or you pulled it out that this was your game.
I think it came out on last Friday.
Came out last Friday, yeah.
And so I was just printing it out when you called me and just said, guess what I'm playing? And it was funny that he goes, Fast Inning Baseball. I says, I'm playing it. So you kind of helped walk me through a couple of games here. And I watched some videos on it and I listened to some people talk about it and I just says, I don't know. But when I finally played it, it was like, oh yeah, this is fun. And you get the game done, in a third of the time that it takes to play a normal game, but you do get some details. It's a very interesting baseball game because, every now and then you have to check, to see what's going on with the pitcher or a batter or something like that. There's a couple of charts you roll off of. If you get a home run, you see how many runs were there. You do get the hits in the game, which was something that I thought was pretty genius. I mean, I thought you were just getting a final score, but you do get hits. You do get errors.
And it's half inning by half inning, too.
Yeah, half inning at a time. And sometimes you roll and it's like batter strikes out, that's it. So you kind of get the highlight of the inning. And if the highlight was a strikeout or a great catch, that's what you see. And you don't see all the other things, which I guess that's what you're sacrificing when you're playing a game like that. You're not playing every at-bat. If you want to play every at-bat, then you play it.
There's so many games. There's 93 other games.
Yep.
Here's the thing I think that made the difference, and I know that
and it tells a story.
Absolutely.
And this is what that you brought up, is for a title. When you play Fast Inning Baseball, you get enough of the individual plays. You kind of see what happens in the inning. Sometimes you don't get a name. Sometimes you do. But it half inning by half inning, that tells the story.
Here's the thing I think that kind of came into focus this year. I know that Fast Drive Football came out last year and that Mark Miller / Jerry Kwan started putting in the scores for that. But if you look through, and there was a previous version of Dice United. But if you look through specifically what Gary Brown and Al Wilson did, there are names attached to these things. Again, you're not just rolling for the final score. You see in hockey, you see the attack set up and you're rolling to see who that is. And I think it's much more immersive to know it's not just, 4-3 Minnesota over Colorado. You can see that Brian Bellows has a chance on the last play of the game to win it. And I think that even if you don't know who Brian Bellows is, it makes you, the game player, more involved. It's not just kick for the field goal. Again, Mike Seelock's quick play football games, Mike Jabral's beautiful family football. I mean, what he did with that. But then again, that is a good teaching game to get little kids into these games. Nothing wrong with that, but to know that you've got Gary Apremian or Uwe von Schamann or whoever, Pete Stoyanovich trying to make a field goal to win the game for you, and you're going to do the quick roll, makes you want to go back to that buffet, as we talk about Golden Corral, and make you want to play more. And you can do it without having to figure out, okay, how do I set this up? How do I set that up? I think that's the difference between and I don't know much about the express games as far as from play or not, but that's, I think, what makes the difference is it's not just the fast results, it's the fact that you get names and stories with it.
And while that did work for me, because as I played Hockey Blast Express, I says, well, let me pull out the full Hockey Blast game and go back to that and see if I can get this to work, because I've had some success with it, but it was a love-hate relationship. Mm-hmm. And I said, let me go back and revisit that to see if I can make this work again. And after playing the Express, I don't know what it is, maybe I just got some good games, but I've been rolling a lot of really good games of Hockey Blast. I played it on the channel, and I've had no issues playing that game. And I don't know what it was a couple of years ago that I ran into. I just don't know. But since I've been playing the Express,
you know what it was? You've played 1,000 different games since then. I think you're just more comfortable with gaming than you were a couple of years ago.
It could be, because there's a lot of games that I played when I first started getting into the hobby that made no sense to me and I had a hard time with, and I've gone back to and smoothed it out. So I think it's right. I think just for me, experience gaming overall has made a lot of games easier for me to follow now. It really has, yeah. So, I mean, that's how we evolve and mature as a gamer, and we've done shows on that and the whole bit. And so that's why I enjoy going back to some games. Now, there's a couple games I've gone back to that I absolutely say, yeah, there's a reason I didn't play this, and here's the reason, and just there's other games I'd rather play. But sometimes you go back to a game, and it's just like, this was really fun, and I this time around I'm having fun with it, and that's what it was with both Payoff Pitch and Hockey Blast this year. I went back to them both, and I'm really enjoying them both. But if it wasn't for Hockey Blast Express, I don't think I would have got back into the Hockey Blast.
Right.
And to a point where I'm spending hours of my week recreating the older Hockey Blast cards into a newer style, which I enjoy playing more. And that's been a whole nother project on its own, which has been kind of fun. But even with the Hockey Blast Express, you can roll for the goal scorer, and you can see who got the goals. Mm-hmm. And so, you're playing this game, and it's just, okay, well, this guy got the goal, and if you want to, you could probably fiddle around and get assists if you wanted the whole bit. But you see if they get a power play goal in the whole bit. So, right. So with the Express games, you do get enough of the detail in the game. You get a couple of names, if you will, and that's enough to keep you going, that you want to go and you want to play these games. And, maybe you pull out the full play game because, you got a little taste of the meal, but it's like, man, I want to get the full meal now. I want the whole thing. I'm going to find time to sit down and play that whole thing. But as far as the storytelling mode, when you play the full play game, you see everything. You see every at-bat, you see every goal, you see every play on a football field. So you get everything, so there's nothing you miss. And when you're done, you feel like you would just have the game. And that's a terrific feeling to have. But the Express game... To
Play's credit, you're using the same cards.
Yes, yeah.
For the full game or the Express game. So you already have a good feel of how the game works by playing the Express, whether you want to go full. Mm-hmm. And I think at least for second season, you can go hybrid on it, can't you? Can you do it for a Hockey Blast? Hybrid meaning that you could start one way and finish another.
I guess you could. I know with the second season, if you wanted to, you could play the fast drive football for a couple of quarters, from Al Wilson, and then jump into second season Express for the third quarter, and then for the fourth quarter, kind of parlay that into the full second season. I don't see why you couldn't do that with Hockey Blast Express, is play a couple of periods and then go into the full game. I mean, because you've come to a break, you've come to a stop in the action. Right. And in theory, you could do that with any game. You could play any quicker game, Stone Cold or Shootout or whatever, and then pick up the third period with a full play game like an Appa or a Hockey Bones or a Hockey Blast if you wanted to. So I would think that option's there, and some people like that. That's been football and basketball tend to be the ones for that because they're the longer games. Although the play Highlight Maker Hoops, I almost picked that up. And I didn't. But that's a nice, quick way to play basketball. It really is. You're not going shot by shot or possession by possession. You're kind of, rolling through that game pretty quick to get a final score. And again, that tells a story because you're placing players against players or even a coach against a coach in that game. And you're not getting the full story, but you're getting the highlights. And it's almost like, I think back in the day, didn't they have condensed books you could read so you didn't have to read
Reader's Digest. I read several of those. Yeah,
so you get the Reader's Digest version of a story. So you okay.
It's like a 300-page book, and it comes down to 100 pages, and it was perceivably, well, when I was in junior high, to make it feel like you got the general gist of the story without watching them go to the refrigerator to get the drink.
Yeah, so but the thing is, if you want to go and get the whole book and read every detail that happens, you might enjoy that because there's going to be a lot of detail that's left out that may or may not add to the story. It all depends on what the book is and what the story is, and that's kind of how these games are, is that you're getting the highlights of it. The thing you don't get with an Express game is, and someone brought this up, I think it was on the Delphi forum, is that especially with football, you'll play, you hand off 2 yards, hand off 3 yards, incomplete pass, punt, and then the other team gets the ball and they do the same thing. And then you get that big boom and play. So you've suffered through, 5, 6, maybe even 15 boring plays. And then you have that exciting play that really, what a play that was, that's going to turn the game around. When you're playing a highlight game, that's all you get are the highlights. So you don't get to see all the mundane stuff, which makes the highlights more special.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
So that's the one downside to the Express game, is that you're kind of seeing all the highlights. What did you see in a highlight reel of what's happening? So you are getting some of the story there, but it's not quite as special when everything's a highlight. Nothing's a highlight, you know what I mean? So that's the only downside I would see, is that when you're playing the full play game, you can talk about that home run or talk about that big pass or, that power play goal or whatever it is. And that's a big deal because there was so much mundane stuff that went around that highlight was the highlight of the game.
Here's a funny story here. Years ago, first out on my own and watching the 6 p.m. Sports Center while I'm eating dinner, pre-wife and all that, bachelor days, 93, 94, watching Sports Center, and the poor old woman that came to feed me dinner every night. And, obviously this must have been during the basketball season or whatever, and they're showing all the dunks and stuff. And I'm eating some Chinese food, and she says, "Do they ever miss a shot?" Because you never saw it. You would never see him miss on Sports Center. Yeah. You'd see layups and dunks and or buzzer beaters. She said they miss shots, right?
It's funny you say that because I've gone back and I've watched some basketball games, not full games, but you know what I mean. You watch some, right. Not just the highlights, but just like a few minutes. And I can't believe how many shots that Bird and Dr. J missed.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, wait a second, but Bird never missed. Bird hit every shot he took. And the same with Bobby Orr. Bobby Orr scored every time he touched the puck. Bobby Orr scored. And there was a game I was highlights I was watching, the Bruins clip. It was in Toronto, and Orr skated to everybody and scores. Bobby Orr scores, and now it's 3-1 Toronto. I'm like, 3-1 Toronto? They didn't show the Toronto goals. They only showed the Bobby Orr goals. So you thought the Bruins were killing them, Right. And then there was a game at the Garden. They were playing, I want to say they were playing the Kings of the Penguins in the early 70s. Score! And the game is tied 5-5. I'm like, 5-5? The Penguins scored 5 goals on the Bruins at the Boston Garden in the early 70s? Are you kidding me?
It's because Cheevers his horse was running the third at Aqueduct, right?
Yeah, so all this stuff kind of happened. Like I say, it's like they never missed a shot, and they never.
She just we would. I mean, a couple of weeks she'd been working for me at night at dinner time, and she goes, "No one ever misses a shot."
Yeah,
It is true.
Yeah, but you could manipulate it to show highlights of any game and think that a team went undefeated because they, that's just how you word it.
Go ahead, do that with the $76.
I saw a YouTube video on the 76 Buccaneers that pumped them up, and you would have thought they were a 500 team. Every time they lost, I was like, oh, it was a close game, and these guys are learning so much. No, they got smoked. They got smoked, and you're trying to sugarcoat this 41-0 loss. So you can spin anything in sports to make it sound cool. But anyway, so getting back to the thing here,
right?
The storytelling point is a great topic here that Ron brought up. In some of the games we talked about here, the play games, especially the Play Express games, you can play those fairly quick, and you're going to get some story out of that. You really are. The Stone Mountain games, the Stone Cold Hockey, the what's the soccer game?
Dice United.
Yeah, those, and you made up a good point about that. You don't even know how to play hockey or soccer, and you can play these games, especially the hockey game, because the way that's laid out is you follow the dice rolls and follow along, and it gets you a little bit of description. And I really do like that. You get some description in the charts, so you can kind of follow along to that and the whole bit. And so those are good.
And again, I think there might be a poo-poo about you're not using any strategy. I know the play games, you do the chips for strategy and stuff like that. But in Al Wilson's take of the football and the baseball and Gary's hockey and soccer, you don't need to know anything about the sports or the strategy. It will come to you because it is explained so well. For the baseball game, if you just kind of go strictly on what they tell you for stamina in pulling your starting pitcher, that's about really the only decision you got to make in the game. Al designed that to be the 15-minute condensed game you watch on YouTube the next morning or whatever. And I would think that if there was a hockey version of this, and let's say you want to play out the Bruins games, but the Blackhawk Blues best of 7 Smythe final, which is going to be an absolute, or Norris final, which would be an absolute snore fest because who cares? Edmonton or Calgary is going to beat the crap out of them anyway in the conference final. A game like this, you'd play it like in Stone Cold, you'd get the good feel of the game, penalties, goals, and go, really? This team is 4 games under 500, and if they can somehow steal 3, this one in Edmonton, they're going to the finals. 82 Vancouver comes to mind. Then yes, it gets you that, and you start to learn about the teams. And I think once you start to learn about a team, you're going to be more invested in them.
That's the one thing that Al Wilson did with his football game too. He came out with the fast drive footballs, drive by drive. It was a little bit more than drive by drive because you had the different zones that you could start off on after
different field position. Yeah,
that made a difference in things. And I did like that. But then he added the ability to add stats to the game, like quarterbacks and the highlight players in the game. So that way there you could see what happened if you wanted to. So, and a lot of people kind of built off of that. And he did that with the baseball game too, whereas, you can get your starting lineup and play. But I guess if you wanted to, you could plug in whoever to get stats. But he makes it clear that, you're not here to get a full game's worth of stats. You're here to play an express game and have some story. And that's what the games do really well. But so the Al Wilson games, along with the play games and the Stone Mountain games, they all have some express versions, or at least a quicker play versions, that you get some story out of that. If we go back to some games that have existed before, like the shootout hockey I always talked about, that's a quicker play game, but you see who gets the penalties, you see who gets the goals, you can tack on shots if you want, so you get a full game's worth of stats. I like how that you roll for offense and defense, or goalie, I should say, to see who has a good game or a bad game. So there's a little bit of sway in some of the ratings when you set up the scoring chances.
Well, all of the play games are story-based games because they use the qualities. I mean, you look at the golf game and red, white, and blue racing. They're not quick games by any stretch. But by the time that you finish that hour-and-a-half race or that evening for the golf thing, it's you have said it feels like you've watched a round of golf on follow the leaders on television. And that's the ultimate storytelling, because unless you find one of the featured group streams, and who does that for more than 15, 20 minutes while you're eating, you are never watching an entire your foursome or threesome or pairing on a Sunday. You're never watching them unless you're a maniac like me. Watch them take every shot. On a Sunday. You're in and out, you're doing something else, the phone rings, you're making dinner. I mean, that's what the play games do so well.
They tell a story, and they tell it with the qualities. You know, it's not just a number crunching math event. You know, you really, you follow along with the qualities, and it took me or us a while, because when we first started the show, we were like, those games are so different. They were the ugly duckling of things. But now that you've played it, or I played it, or we've talked about it, or we've seen the quicker play versions of it, they make so much more sense than they did back in the day when they were so different than all these other games, And now that they've kind of found their place, they really have, and it's a credit to Keith over there at Play, who's broken through.
Keith and Sam have done an excellent job.
They've done a great job, putting that game together and sticking through it, because it's so different, and. It's not like a Strat or an Apra. It's very different with the cold qualities, and you're not using a lot of numbers, but it works, and it works well. And I'm glad that that now I can appreciate those games myself. But like I say, Shootout was one that I enjoyed. That you get some story out of that. That's kind of an express game. Marco's game, the regular season basketball. I really like that, because you can play the basic game and get a final score, but you're rolling the entire time. You're
putting that puzzle together.
You're not just rolling once. You're rolling several times. You're rolling it. Was it every 2 minutes?
3 minute segments.
3 minutes. So you're rolling 3 or 4 times a quarter to see how that quarter ends, and I like that. And boy, when you see those 1s and 2s come up, you're like, oh my gosh, that's such a bad quarter. But then you see the 5s and 6s, and you're like, ooh, this is a pretty good quarter, And then you can, if you want to, at the end of after every roll, you can see who gets the points. And so you can start building your stats as the game goes along. I really do like that. Conversely, the player of the game basketball for Downey, you get your final score first, then you fill in the stats. So there's nothing wrong with that, but it's definitely a little bit different than the regular season basketball, where you're kind of compiling it as you go, which I think I prefer that, because that way there's like, oh, at the half here's the score, and Bird's got 22 and Dr. J's got 15. So
watching the game on television and player of the game is reading about it the next day in the newspaper.
Yeah. Yep. So here's the score. Now, do you want to know more about it or not? And then the new one there we talked about a little bit about the Glory Days football game. And
he's working on the pro version. The college one's been out. He's got greatest teams, and I believe last year he did all of the Division One.
I was watching him on YouTube the other day, and he was demoing the game, and I was like, "Ooh, this is looking very interesting."
It's a hybrid game.
Yeah, so I need to get my hands on this game and start playing that. So if he's listening, if you want to send me over a copy to check out, I'll check it out. Because I definitely want to check that out. But yeah, and there's probably a handful of other games that we're missing here. But the idea that you can play an express game, and these games do tell a story. They really do. You don't necessarily have to play the full game to get a storyline out of a game. And these games do it so well, and they're so fun to play. And I like when they tie in, like the play games tie into the full games. I do like that when you can, tie into the fuller version game as well. But so anyway, so we want to know what you guys think. Ron had the idea that we should talk about the rise of the storytelling game, or the rise of the express game over the last year, but maybe the last year or two. They've really kind of
year or two, but this year I think they've really kind of matured to their own.
Yeah. And you wonder just if we're in that type of world. We're in a very fast-paced world now, where just if you have the option of playing something for 20 minutes to a half hour or 45 minutes, is that a better option than the hour and a half to 2.5 hour slog? And there's nothing wrong with a 2.5 hour slog. I've done it, and it's satisfying when you're done.
Not always a slog either, but again, too many 3 and outs, and
but you got to make sure that you have the time to set that up. And even Hockey Bones, which used to take me an hour and a half or so, I would play a period and walk away because it was a half hour or so, and I was like, okay, and I played for a half hour. I'd done my number crunching, and I got a headache now, and I need to take a break. I had fun, but I'll come back to it later. And so sometimes you don't always have the chance to play the full game. The whole full game in one sitting. So, but I know like the all these games we talked about here today, I could sit down in a sitting and at least play one, if not two of these games in a setting. So they are there. So we want to know what you guys think about that. So anyway, should we wrap things up?
Absolutely.
All righty. 3 stars of the week. We're giving our 3 stars of the week to all of our Patreons.
Absolutely.
We were talking about that today. It's like, every one of us at the end of the year, we don't want to single out anybody at the end of the year. You guys have all been great supporting us throughout this year, and some people right from the start to help us keep this going. I don't know, what are we in, year 4 or 5 right now?
This is year 5. We celebrate our 5th anniversary next July.
All right, so we're in year 5 of the show. And it's all thanks to you guys who help us keep the lights on over here in the whole bit and allow us to bring you the show and to bring you the stuff on YouTube. And we appreciate all the feedback we get. And it's it's really fun when you watch other people do their stuff on YouTube and Digital to Dice gets mentioned. And it's very humbling that people bring up Digital to Dice all the time as being a positive in the community, and we appreciate that so much. That's why we continue on too, is people still like listening to the show. People give us good feedback on the show, and as far as like topics to talk about too, and we rely heavily on the community as far as like what should we discuss, what's going on in the community that we can discuss as a community. It's really not about Ron and I, it's about the community, and we just happen to be the ones talking about it. So anyway, all right, so again, our 3 stars go to all of our Patreons, and there's a little applause. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. And we had the pregame show, by the way, for this one here, and we sent out to all of our Patreons this morning. So if you want to see us pregame this and talk a little bit about what we were talking about here in 208, that video is available for you right now. Anyway, and before I go, I think I forgot maybe I did mention this. If you bought the book,
no, you didn't.
Okay.
Now you are.
So we had Randy Drusen on, the author of Behind the Mask and Between the Pipes, a couple of hockey books about goaltenders. If you bought the book, either one of the books, send us a message. She said she would like to inscribe something for anybody that bought the book that listened to our show. So get a hold of us. Let us know you bought it so we can relay your address to her so she can send you something as a thank you for buying the book. As part of listening to our show. So if you bought either book or both books, I bought both, just get a hold of us here so we can connect you with her, and she will send you a thank you. She didn't explicitly say what it was, but she says, I'd like to know so I can send something off to you.
She was wonderful.
She was great. Really... Yeah, I definitely want her back. We need to do a hockey show maybe around playoff time and get some of our hockey people on and have a nice little fun show with that, and hopefully she'll join us. So. All right, let's kick off the music and wrap up show 208. You hit the wrong button again, Jucket. You had one job. One job. I said press the purple button. You didn't press the...
Aunt Becky paid me to do that.
Here we go. All right, you've been listening to the Digital to Dice podcast, episode 208, the Idaho Potato episode.
There you go.
Ways to get a hold of us, digitaltodice.com is the website. 978-751-DICE is the dice line. digitaltodice@yahoo.com is the email. And over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. And Ron, fun discussion today on storytelling.
Absolutely. And I think storytelling really is for me, it's the heart of why we do this.
Yeah, you want to walk away and have a story to tell, and that's why we share
right.
We share what we play with everybody, because we want to tell our story of what happened on our table or our computer. So anyway, that wraps it up here for 208. Thanks for tuning in. Again, keep an eye on the Facebook group, and maybe even my YouTube channels. We'll have some announcements on what we're going to do around the holidays as far as some kind of a group get-together, group chat, or something like that on YouTube. So I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And we'll talk to everybody later.
Good night, Pocatello. Bye-bye.